Hey guys, Boris here, bringing you another VOD review. With Worlds just being a couple of days away and many of its participants practicing in private, I thought that we should use this opportunity instead to jump in game with one of the fan favorites, Mr. Tlydes here, as we're going to be following the Worlds players closely over the weekend and all the way leading up to the next set releasing on the PB, which is going to be either late Tuesday for you or afternoon Tuesday, depending on where you are in the world, or early Wednesday. We are playing in the Darius encounter and our 3 cost is this Leona, which is a quite decent early game tank to be and opens up as a possibility to playing into something like a Malzahar reroll. We already do get dropped a full Nashers for that, but instead we are finding a Nivea 2-star, which is also a nice early game carry to be playing into. But if we wanted to fully commit to this AP line, we would want to be seeing something like a Rod or a Tier. Otherwise, we're holding on to this potential to play around the Slayers, and we also have a Shen, and as we noted, the path is the path of the Spirits. And we have fielded a Teemo, which is also an interesting choice, as the Yordles only realistically want to be played from tempo and to capitalize on extra econ. So we have the opportunity to either slam a Nashor's Tooth or a Sunfire, but we have the Leona, which is going to provide an anti-heal on its own. And our direction is not very much established at this point. We have not even checked our Void modules at the moment, so we're not sure if we really want to be committing to a Malzahar from this spot. Therefore, something like Gold Destiny would be quite appealing here. Pyromaniac, again, we have the anti-heal, and we have a potential to slam a Sandfire. And we do not really have an auto-attacker that would benefit from this red buff right away. Earth would be something if we had a clear direction that we could commit to. And at this point, we do not really have that as an opportunity. Therefore, yeah, I'm going to be probably defaulting the Gold Destiny. Let's see what Tlydes does. Instead, we do get offered Spreading Roots here, which is great for us, helping us establish this direction. Early Learnings would be something if you wanted to be tempoing in from 1 cost, as 1 cost reroll does not really exist at this point. And Bodyguard Training is good for a comp that is possible to spike on stage 3. Probably the best use would be something like a Jinx Warwick. Synergizes with the heal, synergizes with the zone trait, and that's the form. But we want direction at this point, therefore we're picking Spreading Roots, and we do get dropped Orianna in the form of emblems. We also find this 2-star Kiana, and at this point, we are going to be considering leveling here. We have a decent frontliner, we have a couple of upgraded units, we can play for this potential streak. Due into the Draven 2 here, so we definitely want to be making one of these slams, I would believe. But instead, okay, they do not have the stronger of the frontlines. Tlydes, we call Greg, we sometimes meme about Greg's Freight judging, but he was right there and realized that he does not need to slam. Going to be checking our Piltover module here. The default option here is going to be the Blast Shield that we'll probably be going for. Electrical Overload has just been nerfed together with the T-Hex to be a little bit quite less on the value and would be generally good in the bursty comps. Caliber Nets otherwise is a decent option on its own, but there's lots of QSSs. Titans being run even on the backline or something like a Jinx. Therefore, it's not as strong at this point. And we also do manage to find an Ashe and Sejuani to be pairing in, so we can play around this Freljord core at this point. We're going to opt to be slamming this Invoker emblem onto the Ashe, which is unfortunately going to unlock a Tryndamere for ourselves. We also note how we are holding on all the possible pairs. We did not have the options to be making 10 there that turn, I believe. Yeah, we would be just a little bit short. But we are holding on a potential, but we should at this point should evaluate what is going to be our level 5 in. And it's most likely going to be this Leona, therefore going to be holding on to that. And the reason why, unfortunate for us to unlock a Tryndamere, is that we would have a potential to be high roll in Ori 2, obviously. This is going to impede that. And Ori 2 is something that we could be carrying for quite a while, depending on what path we opt to go from here on out. Managed to string together a 3 streak, and there is a three spatula / pans items on the carousel at this point. Again, when you have these quite few emblems, just being able to make another one would be quite good, but we would have to be sacrificing another tier on the form of a pan to be playing for 4 Invoker. And at this point, we're going to grab a Rod, which is fortunately left open for us, so we're able to play around this JG combo with the Nashers. Checking the stats here, Tlydes on the stream to check what are the best Invoker users. Found a Soul. I mean, given it's end of the set and he loves to entertain his chat, could be a potential a Soul angle since we already have that Leona. But we would want to be high rolling the Taric to do so. And again, we need to be playing from ahead, which we are in the spot for actually. And could this be one of the ASOL games? it's a very rare case where you wonder if you're playing it seriously into an ASOL, as that needs to be also played. It's a true fast 9 comp, and however at this point there are quite a lot of AP fast 9 comps already available. Hoping to continue our streak here, we're queuing a 4 defender Ari with the Seraphim staff and a Nico too. I'm not sure if this enemy has simply enough damage to be burst through this front line, and it does not appear to be so the case, as the Ari has managed to scale, and unfortunately our streak gets broken here. Would have wanted definitely to be able to extend that, as that is going to make up to give the potential amount of gold that we need in order to go for a fast 9 and play around something like either ASOL itself or the Rise failure comp. And we get a Goldo drop that's going to be a TG. Would be nice if he had kept that streak, because that would provide us with an extra item tempo that's going to be the strongest of the form at the moment. We get after a 2-star Ash, and I'm not exactly sure if we even considering making it here. Now we're wanting to be tempo, and we're going to get our slams nicely done, as we did get dropped a full TG, the complete Nashers, the JG. I'm going to opt to make Dash instead. I mean, assuming that we win a couple of fights, and if that could have been the diff, it's going to be worth paying off itself. Otherwise, could just one say that we're in a decent econ position. We're making 40 here regardless, so we're fine to make it. And we should be able to level to 6 with about 40 gold left, I believe, next turn. But coming up on the augment selection here, now, again, we're looking for a potential at this point to find something that could either give us enough tempo to go fast 9 or the econ, and we have the option of the tiniest titan, which is perhaps the best 3-2 econ augment that you can hit. Now obviously we have running the potential to go over healing. However, if we believe the text, tiniest titan should be able to go for above 100 HP. I believe it does. However, I've not had the exact situation myself to test it out, so I cannot say with 100% certainty. Celestial Blessing is decent for melee comps, however the gold one I believe is a little bit more in the value. Although I've seen some people use it as a pseudo way to buff up in frontline, I just do not see that being that worth. And the 1 buff, 2 buff provides the item value right now. However, we can make that up in the form of the econ here, and could sort our utility later on. It's another great option that we could be considering at this point. Min-max is also a good item tempo option at the moment, but we have the Leona as well at this point in the game. Therefore, we have the anti-heal sorted for ourselves. I believe we should be leaning towards Tiniest Titan, playing for some form of a fast 9 board, and simply the Giant and Mighty is just a weaker combat option. It's going to be, would have been more valuable in something like 3-2. At this point, we would want to be looking either for tempo in form of items or econ, and Tiniest Titan is the best option here. We do get offered the 3 modules here for these we have to recall are selfish to the piltover units. Kinetic Barrier could beef up our frontline a little bit. However, it's simply not regarded as that strong, but it is going to be better than micro rockets, as that is just simply delayed damage, and it's generally on the lower of the sides. Acceleration Gate instead is very good if you're playing around something like a Seraphine carry, and we have this Piltover emblem that we could be tossing onto something like Lysandra later on until we get full itemized value. And Tlydes already noticed this display. He takes the Piltover emblem off from the Sejuani. Also allows him to transition the Stone Plate onto the Loris, as again, Acceleration Gate Loris is actually quite strong. He can get those knocks and be very annoying for the frontliners, especially if we're able to get something like a Protector's Vow for him. Now, we did keep our TG, I believe, on the bench that last round, which is perhaps not that good. We can also see him testing out with the TFT Academy overlay. Not sponsored, unfortunately, not related in any formal way, but love to support him myself as well. So if you have not seen this overlay, it's one of the better ones out there that you could be testing out. Playing into... Now, this could also be a potential... Okay, I'm riveting with the Legion of Threes, so they're most likely looking to play into some form of Zoe Malzahar reroll. Their emblem is the Freljord one, however, does not matter that your 3 cost units still gain the buff, and then you can just toss a template bonus on another unit that you want to provide a buff for as well. I'm going to still be the last pick here, and just going to grab Belt, best option that we had offered, and belt can transition into either another form of Nashers, another frontline item. But generally very flexible, and it's perhaps one of the safest choices you can generally just take from a carousel. If you're simply unsure, you can, in most metas, just grab a belt and that will transition into something. Can be anti-heal, can be anti-armor, can be any form of either AD or AP damage item as well. Into a player that has spiked with a Kaisa here, and a Garen as well with a tiny but deadly, so they're going to be losing around here. One of the forms how the set has enabled you to bounce back on the stage 3 is this form of forecast unlocks. A little bit worried coming into the next set that if they keep these stage 3 damage changes around, then if you're playing from a loss streak, you simply have to be seeking for a reroll out, and if there's not that many reroll outs as there were not for a quite large portion of the set, you do not have another option to be stabilizing yourself on the stage 3. So we'll have to see how that plays out, but that's for the next week. Instead here, going to be now losing as we do again. We queue into this RA player at the end of the stage again. He's just the Bane, and they are on a 100 streak, and we managed to high roll their Loris too, and the Lysandra. Still holding on to this Diana for the potential Ace Dream, but we do not even have a Zoe or a Felio, so probably unlocking Ace at this point is going to be quite hard. So we would be probably leaning towards this Invoker type of Fast 9 board, since we have the Econ lead. We have generally managed the tempo. He still has the ASOL unit in the, and I would hope that he managed to close his team planner. A little bit annoying, but it is how it is. Opts to not go for a Sunfire, to not sort of utility, instead going for a stronger form of frontline through the Warmogs and sorting out our anti-magic resist. The shred in the form of a spark, and this last augment should help us figure out exactly the direction. We have still an open bow that we could consider, so I probably would be wanting a belt to complete another Nashers. Staff Smith here would be quite great. We have another AP carry that we can be itemizing, and is generally very strong for a gold augment. Otherwise, Glass Cannon could be decent. We have quite a few backliners, and our damage is primarily from a black line. Best friends would be quite awkward to be positioned around the Freljord emblem, and I believe it's not as an AD heavy meta. Would have to scout the lobby to make sure for sure. Explosive Growth is another one of these ego anomalies that could allow us to immediately go to Fast 9. Again, the thing with the Fast 9 is a lot of players underestimate how much gold it is, and getting 40 gold here, even on top of Tiniest Titan, we're just able to fully sack the stage, I would believe, and spike very hard with the Rise unlock on the PV or even before. Otherwise, Staffsmith would have been a great option, but it would have to like his commit, and we are still, we are on the lower gold side. Managed to find a Braum, so their shops have been very fortunate for ourselves. Would imagine that we would want to be slotting it in over the Leona, but going to keep that as it is. Still not exactly sure what he's going to be planning around. We see there's a player with a Jinx 3 already of their own, so we're going to obviously take a big loss here. 64 HP, so if we take about another 3, it should be 3 12 HP losses, which still should be quite fine, given that we are getting the healing. The still stage base damage here would be 8, I'm assuming we're going to lose by about 6 units, that should be 12 HP. And we are just short of the Volibear unlock as well, but okay, now we're planning out the Freljord Fast 9 board, playing around that Volibear, and that's probably also the reason for us spamming Warmogs. If we are considering playing around this line, then this Warmog is obviously going to be exact way how we're going to be able to transition into Volibear. As long as we're able to get off this spark with another form of belt item, we should be safe to unlock this Volibear. Also, we have to be fishing for a Braum 2, I guess at this point. Maybe Tarek 2 could also do it. Able to get a zillion of the carousel. Also, the players cannot be contesting our units exactly. We could just slotting in the zillion, maybe an extra cast or 2. Could get him there. 6th Invoker unfortunately does not exist, and well, it's maybe unfortunately, maybe fortunately, as that's just a comp that wouldn't exactly work, especially without an emblem. And they generally don't want to be providing traits that just feel like a bait to be playing into. Going to itemize the Zillion at this moment, as we're going to fast 9, we also will have a good chance to be 2-starring him, as not that many players play around Zillion generally. Find the Wukong, and if we attack and Bruiser, are we close enough? For the Volibear, I'm not sure. The unlock should have popped up, so I guess not. Still need to find a Targon unit to hold on for our Rise unlock. And yeah, since we're just losing the rounds we're playing against... So this is the different Zoe reroll player as well. They're under 1 life, therefore have full sanity. We're just taking... Now pushing our levels. Able to unlock the Volibear, which was nicely spotted that we were able to do so with the Bruiser attack. And going to roll a little bit of gold. This is another thing that you have to evaluate, especially from these fast 9 spots. That rolling on PV is quite fine. Like paying 2 gold in order to just exchange that for about 10-15 seconds onto the next round is quite valuable, but obviously did not want to roll too much down, as we had the Rise to unlock, and also we picked up a Ziggs, so going to be playing around that, transitioning the items onto the Rise, able to find another set of decent AP items with the Piltover Mill providing that acceleration gate, I would believe, but no, we have dropped down to the 2 Piltover, instead going more in this 4 Invoker type of a board, and able to pick up a win against seems to be a Malflex now transition from the Ionia opener onto the Rise pair. Could potentially consider sending here, as we still have quite a few pairs that we can pick up. Also have the removers in order if we wanted to move around the items. But yeah, instead going to be playing around with 2 Piltover only, did not spot attack before, therefore we can just use this emblem as another toss on whatever unit. But with the Volibear 2, I believe that we are assuming that we're going to be quite strong, at least till about 5-5. Unfortunately the Volley didn't get the wrap here, and our only concern is that we're a little bit of a mercy of these TG rolls on the Volibear, as he generally loves HP items and AD items, or any kind of early mana generation is not bad for him to get to the forecast, but Titan's Bramble is going to be also quite sufficient. Therefore, I assume we're scouting our matchups, evaluating it. We are quite fine to be sitting like this. Into another Ari player with a Zillion 2 and an Invoker. That's also an interesting board. Probably playing from the War Farming Zillions kind of spot. And we have already broken into the top 4. That's another thing of the sets. The top 4 generally just decided already by 5-3. And we do get the 1%er carousel, which is the Tactician's Crown. So just going to grab the highest cost of a unit. Senna can also just nicely fit in our board for any form of passive we wanted. But Siobhan would be even a better option for that. Yeah, sorry about that, quite late. So, are we considering going here fast and 10? I'm saying fast 10, but like generally 10 on 6-1 is quite fine. We have that Zillion, but it has not been stacking that much since we now have the items on him. But we have the HP in order to do that. Still, we would need to be investing quite a bit of gold to the other units. What would be 60 gold to level at the moment, and we will be making 60. We are about 70 gold now. 80, about 90 gold, so it would be about 30-ish gold to roll down. That's not exactly that much, since we have to have this another form of a 5 cost to be slotted in. We still have not even found a Ziggs pair, and the Rise is also a 7 gold, so we have to be a little bit wary about our gold situation if we wanted to do that, especially before a 6-2. But able to pick up a win here, so we could potentially be considering going 6-2, but if we do take a loss on the stage 4, that could bring us quite close to 1 life threshold for that following round until we're able to heal up. Already transitioning items onto the Zillion, as if we are going to 10 that in the 5 cost, we should just, we just have to hit. We assume we're going to hit, right? So going to go fast then. When we're at 50 gold, had a little bit more of a gold influx than I originally thought. Generally, if you can count it by 10 gold a round and then 20 gold for a PvE round. About that. For our last item, just going to finally be able to sort out our anti-heal, and we found that Zillion 2, but we are still sitting on a Rise 1, and we made that Ziggs 2, and you see that this is 10 Bilgewater in the lobby, so We are in contention here. Our potential for winning did not get exactly there. We have this Orn as well, simply just providing a Warden. But obviously we're not going to exactly getting towards that Orn item. Now, are we able to take another loss from the 10 bills? We should, if we win this fight, and I believe he's quite confident in winning at the moment, since we have found that Rise 2, and the mill is generally on the slower of the cast, we have the extra damage that we are looking for. No, instead we're going to be starting the selling our board, already rolling for that Volibear 2, finding one of those the fastest Volibear 3 that you can see. We did not even get through, burn through all the gold that we open sold on our board. We're able to find a Volibear 3, so that's going to give us a win. And obviously, yeah, the 10 bills would at this point, with the stage damage being 12, we would have just simply lost the round, but instead recognized the play that we just have to go for selling the board. We were able to find it, and at this point we're just simply looking for any form of a unit, as we are again in the mercy of the TG rolls. But I believe that 3-star 5 cost should have been, but they're going for a Tom which is their own, and there is no way that we can deny. However, with unlocks being a little harder to hit, they find an MF3 with an extra gold influx on them, so that since they're printing the constant gold pretty much from the 10 bilge, we are simply just using whatever gold we have left in order to try to sort our board. Her, the Volibear 2, okay, she just casts and simply annihilates any other form. 10 bilge is on the weaker side since it's just so much easier to hit than the other chase traits. Going to transition, we do get printed the Darkened Staff, but just going to transition some of any kind of mana generating item as very niche case, but if you are against other 3-star 5 costs, things like Edge of Night or items that are going to enable your nuke to go off before their nuke is the strongest, and Volibear just simply nukes on the first cast, and that's exactly what they're looking for, and the game has played out at this point pretty much. So to recap, played around strong early opener, recognized on our 3-2 augment option that since our streak got broken, we were not exactly looking for tempo augments, that got offered one of the best econ options to be going for, enabling us to exactly go for this fast 9 game plan. And well, once we arrive to a spot, unfortunately we find that our only win condition at that point is the 3-star 4 or 5 cost, and just had to send it and found our way out. I would like to thank you for watching, as this player unfortunately didn't hit their Town Kench 3, and I hope that you learned something new, and I wish to see you in the next one. Have a good one.